자, 오늘 세 번째 시간에는요, 칠레 광업 전문 변호사를 모시고 칠레 리튬 정책과 제도를 소개하는 시간 갖도록 하겠습니다. 크리스티안 낀시오 변호사님은 1997년에 낀시오 이 안리케스 노보와 법률 사무소를 설립해 현재까지 광업과 엔지니어링, 건설, 에너지, 분쟁 해결 등 자원개발 분야의 특화된 법률 자문을 제공해 오고 있고요. 세계적인 법률 시장 평가 기관인 챔버스 앤 파트너스가 실시한 칠레 광업 부분 평가에서 2018년부터 3년 연속 브랜드 2에 선정이 되어 그 전문성을 인정받고 계십니다. 또한 프리포트 맥모란 코델코의 법률 고문을 역임했고요. 칠레 대학 광업법 교수로도 활동하고 계십니다. For today's the last session, we will invite Mr. Christian Cancio, a Chilean mining attorney, to introduce Chile's lithium policies and regulations. He founded now called Cancio y Enriquez Novoa law firm in 1997 and has been providing legal advice specialized in resource development, such as mining, engineering, construction, energy, and dispute resolutions. For 3 consecutive years, he has been ranked brand 2 lawyer in Chilean mining legal service by the Chamber and Partners. He has performed as a legal advisor in Freeport McMoran and Codelco. So Mr. Cancio now will provide the details regarding Chile's lithium policy and regulations. So if you have any questions during his presentation, please post them in the Q&A chat. 네, 앞서 말씀드린 것처럼 발표 중에 궁금한 내용이 있으시면은요, 네, 채팅창에 질문을 남겨주시면 저희가 답변을 해드리도록 하겠습니다. 자, 그럼 변호사님의 발표를 청해 보도록 하겠습니다. Mr. Christian Cancio, yeah, when you're ready, please start.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentation. I would like to start my presentation by thanking the Korean ambassador to Chile and Mrs. Lee for this invitation. It's difficult to be the last in these seminars, especially after so entertaining and varied presentation of Daniela. Well, we are going to refer to a legal framework that you see in Chile for developing the lithium industry, and that legal framework is something that is granted by the laws and regulations, and therefore is much more precise than framework than a forecast.
Sorry to bother you, but would you please the slide more bigger size? Could you show us for the slideshow?
What about that?
Yes, that's right. Screen
okay.
2. Yeah.
Screen 2.
Please share the screen 2.
That is screen 2. I will go from there.
From this.
From here onwards, yes.
Sir, I think you are using the dual monitor, so would you please using the first monitor for sharing the screen?
This again happened. I don't know why that happened.
Yes, please share the screen.
I am trying to share the screen.
As we did the
rehearsal,
so please share the screen.
That is what I'm doing.
Yeah, wait. Oh, yes, that's right.
Okay, it's there.
Thank you very much. Let's keep going.
Okay, let's keep going. I will start by thinking that all the persons that are attending this conference are not familiar with the legal mining system in Chile, and I will try to give the main highlights before entering into a lithium problems that are presented today. In first place, we have to learn that in Chile, the state is the owner of the minerals. And consequently, for being able to explore, exploit, and benefit minerals, such minerals have to be classified as concessible. That means that minerals that are classified as concessible can be exploited by obtaining a mining concession. mining concessions that in Chile are granted by the judicial system and not by the authorities, by the regulatory authorities. You have to obtain a final award granted by a court for obtaining a mining concession. Mining concessions in Chile since the year 1983 are of two types, exploration and exploitation. Exploration concessions have a limited durability of not more than 4 years, while exploitation concessions have an indefinite duration. They are valid and are binding for the state to respect them as long as the concessionary pays an annual fee that is called a patent. Concessions in Chile grant, on general terms, grant entrance or grant the capacity of being able to exploit and explore any kind of minerals, except those minerals that are reserved for the state, which are very specific and not more than 3. Minerals that are reserved for the state today are lithium, number 1, oil and natural gas, nothing else. Those are the minerals that can be exploited only by the state or with the state special permits that are granted through contracts that are called the special contracts for exploiting minerals that belongs to a state or by administrative concessions. Let's walk and see what has happened with the lithium industry in Chile. The previous mining legislation, the mining code of 1932, considered lithium to be a concessible mineral, which means that it could be exploited by any person that holds a mining concession or metallic minerals. This was dramatically changed in the year 1979. In November of the year 1979, the Chilean government sanctioned decree number 2886 that granted lithium a very special category, which is a non-concessible category. That means that it's reserved to the state, and the private concessionaires cannot take advantage of that mineral. This means that you have 2 types of concessions in Chile since November of 1979. The pre-1979 concessions that allow their concessionaries to explore, exploit, and benefit lithium, and the new concessions, the concessions granted after the year 1979, which do not have access to lithium. And because of that, any person that wants to enter the market of lithium production in Chile since 1979 has 2 alternatives: or to acquire a concession granted before the year 1979, or to obtain from the government a special permit that in the way of a SIOL, a contract, special contract for taking advantage of lithium, or through a administrative concession. Until today, we will see what has happened with the non-concessional lithium. We will move to the next slide. This is what I was stating, that lithium today can be exploited only by the state, by a Chilean state-owned company, by means of an administrative concession, or by means of a special operating contract. Those the 2 later means of exploiting are through a joint venture with a private party. In accordance to the current mining regulations, you can obtain a mining concession in any part of Chile. And you can obtain a mining concession in any part of Chile, whether it contains concessible together with non-concessible minerals. What happens if it contains non-concessible minerals? if it contains non-concessible minerals, the concessionary will have to give notice to a state of the presence of that non-concessible mineral, and the state will have the right to request the separation of that non-concessible mineral and to deliver it to a state, so to enable the state to do whatever it wants with that mineral. In any case, the costs of separating that non-concessible mineral are of the account of the state. I'm not going to enter into this very specific regulation, but that you will have it in my presentation about what happens in the way that this has to be done. What needs to be said is that the lithium mining industry in Chile, although we have a concessionable lithium mineral until 1979, was not developed until the year 1975. And the development of the lithium industry was because of a mining company, Anaconda, that was looking for new deposits of copper and new water resources for the copper exploitation operations in the north of Chile. Because of that, it was found in the Salar de Atacama, the presence of lithium, and that gave the opportunity to Corfo, a state-owned agency, to request mining exploitation concessions that covered mainly the complete Salar of the Salar de Atacama. Those concessions allow Corfo to enter into two processes of bidding. The first was in the late 70s, when it entered into an association, into a joint venture with Food Minerals. Food Minerals, that was a player of the lithium industry in those days in the US, entered Chile together with Corfo, and together they incorporate Sociedad Chilena del Litio. The stake of Cyprus later was merged with Food was later merged with Cyprus, and thereafter transferred to Rockwood, and currently is in the hands of Albemarle, who is the sole owner of Sociedad Chilena del Litio, today Rockwood, because Corfo sold his stake also sold the stake in that company also to Rockwood in the late 80s. The second bidding process was the process that was carried out in the mid 80s, in which Corfo called for a bid for potash operations, basically in the Salar de Atacama. And as a result of that, a company was incorporated between Corfo, AMAX, also a US-based company, and two local companies by the name of Molimet, that maybe you are all aware of, and well, they were the three: Food Minerals, Corfo, and Molimet. Food Minerals was merged with Cyprus. Then it was sold its interest to SQM, and at the same time that SQM bought the interest of Cyprus, previously AMAX, they sold their interest. Molimet sold their interest to SQM. So currently, SQM is the whole owner of this operation. The main differences between the two entities that exploit the Salar de Atacama due to these Corfo joint ventures is the following. In the case of Sociedad Chilena del Litio, Corfo transferred properties to the new company as part of its capital contribution. Those concessions were transferred to the Sociedad Chilena del Litio, together with an authorization from the Chilean Energy Commission to exploit up to 200,000 tons of lithium, of metallic lithium equivalent in the properties that were assigned by transferred by Corfo. In the case of SQM, Corfo has leased the concessions to SQM, and therefore what happens is, in one case, Corfo still is the owner in the case of SQM of the concessions. In the first case, the Sociedad Rockwood Lithium today is the owner and has a commitment to transfer the concessions back to Corfo when the exploitation of lithium ceases and terminates. If we go to a photograph of what happens in the Salar de Atacama with these two exploitation, you have the following. This first corner is exploited today by Albemarle, and was the one that belonged initially to Sociedad Chilena del Litio, a company formed as said by Foot and Corfo. The other part of the Salar, the biggest, is the owner is leased by Corfo to SQM, and those properties are the major part of the properties that are owned by Corfo. And between the two operations, there are sections that are called Tierra de Nadie, or the protected areas, in which none of the companies can do anything for avoiding to interfere in the exploitation of the brines of the other company. In the year 2012, let me previously say, what has Chile done, and what has Chile been doing since lithium was declared non-concessible, or since lithium was reserved to the state? And we can say that we have done very little, because you will see that the actions that had been taken by Chile to develop this mineral had been completely reduced to tenders, one tender in the year 2012, and number two, some permits that had been granted recently in the Salar of Maricunga, and some developments of ENAMI that can be attractive to future interest parties to joint venture with a state-owned company like ENAMI. As you can recall, in the year 2012, Chile called for international bidding to grant a special contract for being able to explore, exploit, and benefit lithium for up to 100,000 tons of metallic lithium. That permit allowed the successful bidder to exploit or to benefit lithium from any concession that it can freely obtain in any part of Chile that was granted after the year 1979. As a compensation to the successful bidder, the state would have paid 93% of the value of the lithium production that was able to be obtained by such bidder. Unfortunately, that bid was finally declared closed and null, mainly because it was assigned to SQM, and because of problems of SQM with the rules of the bid, it was disqualified, and later the bid was called for be suspended or terminated. That was the first action that the government has taken with non-concessible lithium. In the year 2014, the President Bachelet formed what it was called a National Lithium Commission, or National Lithium Committee, of which myself and Daniela were part within a number of 20 commissioners. And the purpose of that commission was to produce a policy to enable the Chilean state to develop the lithium industry, to develop and enhance the capacity of a lithium industry. There were many different views within the commissioner, and because of that, the final outcome of the committee was not that productive, except for the renegotiations that were that were done by Corfo within the principles and policies that were approved by this commission. As I was saying, the renegotiation of the contract first with Albemarle and then with SQM, to which I will refer later. Because of this committee, of the policy that was issued by this commission, the government called for its companies to start, the mining companies, Codelco and Enami, to start a very aggressive campaign for developing the concessions that they have in salads, in brines, in salares in Chile. Basically, Codelco has in Maricunga some properties and 100% of Pedernales, and Enami has properties in Fieles and another salar that I can't recall the name right now, but we have properties that belong to state-owned companies that can be developed. What has been done after that? The amendment of the Corfo contracts are very important, I believe, to learn how Chile has focused on the exploitation of the lithium properties in Chile. And this is important because it gives a guideline to what can be expected to be requested in the future for new players in the lithium industry, specifically if those players are going to enter with non-concessible properties or non-concessible lithium that belongs to private owners, mainly in Chile. The first contract to be amended was the contract with Albemarle. I will recall that the Albemarle properties, before the Sociedad Chilena del Litio properties, were transferred by Corfo to the company and were assigned by Corfo to the company. And because of that, those properties did not pay any lease fee nor royalty to the state. Because of this new negotiation that was completed in the year 2016, things changed. And the changes are significant. In first place, the initial quota of 200,000 tons was increased to 540,000 tons roughly of lithium, metallic lithium. But the increase is subject to a condition, and that condition is highly important. That condition means that on or before December 31st, Albemarle has to have in place a plant to produce battery-grade lithium carbonate that shall produce between 20 and 24 tons per year, kilotons per year. And if it doesn't match that obligation, then the quota will be reduced significantly to 143,000 tons roughly. And the final year to produce that 143,000 tons will be December 31st, 2035. The second amendment is a new condition that it was imposed to a contractor, Albemarle, which means that it will have to pay a royalty to Corfo for the use of the exploitation of the concessions. And that royalty fees and that royalty rates are the ones that you can see. It depends on the product that is produced, whether lithium carbonate, lithium hydroxide, or potash in several manners. And it has scales that varies dependable on the price of the products. This is completely new and is a payment that is done by Albemarle since the year 2017 to Corfo. Corfo, as you know, is a Chilean agency, state-owned agency that is in charge of development of activities, production activities in the country. The other obligations that are assumed in the new contract by Albemarle are the following. They have to contribute for research and development of the mining and solar potential in the north and central north of Chile, increasing the contribution that they were making of $2 million per year to something that varies between 6 and 12.4 million per year, depending on the prices and the production rates. The other obligation is something that maybe some of the companies that are attending this seminar have known, which is the obligation to offer to Corfo up to a 25% of the production for enabling Corfo to call for international tenders, so to create in Chile a capacity of adding value to products of lithium. I want to, maybe you all know that a bid was called for Corfo in the year 2018, and because of problems with the pricing of the products that were to be sold by Albemarle, that bidding, although it was awarded, it was finally declared closed and terminated. The other obligation that is imposed to the contractor is the contribution to communities that are in the provinces or in the city councils where the production occurs, and this is San Pedro Atacama, and because of that, the company has to contribute a percentage of the income, which is not that high, to those communities to make them benefit from the increase of production and to make them being able to develop new activities within the scope of that contract. The contract with SQM, as you are aware, the state Corfo began an arbitration procedure against Corfo in the year 2014, claiming for unpaid royalties. In the year 2016, the Corfo placed a new lawsuit against Corfo, requesting the termination of the lease agreement of the OMA properties, the properties that are exploited by SQM Salar. Within the conciliation that was the conciliation procedure that was called by the arbiter in the month of January of the year 2018, a settlement was reached between Corfo and SQM, and because of that, several new obligations were taken by SQM in favor of Corfo. Number one, the first amendment was to increase the lithium quota that was authorized from 180 to 350,000 roughly. That is divided between a new quota, additional quota, and efficiency quota. And going from one to another, it's highly dependable on the production of battery grade carbonate or lithium by Corfo, by SQM, sorry. There's increased significantly, the lease rent increased significantly from what it had previously SQM to what it has today. And this scale is similar to the one that is in the Albemarle contract, maybe a little bit higher in the case of SQM, maybe a little bit higher specifically in hydroxide. Also, you have the obligation to sell 25% of the production to Corfo, so to call for international tenders for these specialized producers of value-added products of lithium, which was called by Corfo recently and was awarded. Then you have to, the SQM has to contribute to research and development in a higher amount than Albemarle. Is between 10 to 18 million per year, dollars per year. it has the obligation by the end of the contract, which happens in the year 2030, to transfer and to give a first right of a first refusal to Corfo to acquire all the plants and installations of SQM in the Salar de Atacama, so to facilitate any new tender that is called for new players in the properties of Corfo in the future. It also contains the obligation to contribute to communities and regional development in a more significant manner than in the case of Albemarle, and also for the same purposes. Finally, it is contemplated in this new amendment, in this new agreement, something that has been has been causing some problems with Albemarle recently, which is a study that has to be conducted of the aquifer, and the aquifer specifically with exploitations of Albemarle, considering the exploitations of Albemarle and SQM. These studies are haven't been delivered to Albemarle, and Albemarle has been complaining. And the reason that Corfo gives is that this is part of the SQM obligations and not part of the Albemarle rights to have this available. So that has happened with lithium, with the Corfo properties in the Salar de Atacama. We have seen higher rates, higher royalties. We have seen higher contributions for the communities. We have seen higher contributions for research and development. And we have also seen this new obligation, or a very successful one, to oblige those companies to sell up to 25% of their production to Corfo for specific purposes. And that is something that I believe is a good result, is a good outcome. What else has been done? And this is something that relates to non-concessionable lithium, because the Salar de Atacama is a concessionable lithium. What has happened with non-concessionable lithium? The first thing, the main activities have been developed in the Maricunga Salar. In first place, in the year 2018, beginning of 2018, the government of Chile granted a special contract, a SIOL, to Codelco that can be assigned to a wholly owned subsidiary, which is the case of Salar de Maricunga SPA. This contract gives Codelco the authorization to exploit, it says, exploit and sell up to 325,000 tons of metallic equivalent lithium in the salar. That is the quota that Codelco can exploit. The compensation is a specific compensation that is determined in accordance to a formula that you can see here. And what it's important to bear in mind is the obligation of Codelco, or of the contractor, in this case Codelco is the contractor, to pay to the government in a specific payment, similar to a royalty. In this case, this specific payment or royalty is composed of two parts. One that is paid quarterly, and one that is paid annually. The quarterly specific payment is based upon sales. The annual specific payment is similar to a royalty of the copper industry in Chile, and is based on margin obtained by the company by the end of each commercial year. The other obligation that is important is, once again, you will see the obligation of Codelco to offer or to sell to Corfo up to in this case to a Chilean state through Corfo, up to 25% of the production for the same purpose, for allowing the entrance of new players, for specialized producers for value-added products of lithium. Then you have the research and development contributions, in this case, 2% of the gross sales of each year. And something important is that this approval or this contract is granted by Codelco, can be assigned to a wholly owned subsidiary, which it has been already done. It has been assigned to Salar de Maricunga SPA, and Salar de Maricunga SPA can enter into associations with third parties, such as Salar Blanco. Maybe you are aware that today Codelco has a memorandum of understanding with Salar Blanco, and that memorandum of understanding contemplates good faith negotiations to enter, or to try to enter, to make the best efforts to enter into a future association for the exploitation of the Salar de Maricunga non-concessionable lithium resources. We shall see what happens in the future with that. In respect to something important that has been done, what I was saying before, this calls by Corfo for obtaining the entrance into Chile of specialized producers. They have called for 2 bids. The first, it was in the year 2017, sorry, no, the year 2018, as I said before. And this was awarded to Molimed, a consortium of Samsung and POSCO, and Suacham Ulin Industrial of China. And because of problems with the determination of the price, of the transfer price, the outcome was a negative outcome of that bidding process. The second bidding process was called in the year 2019 by Corfo, and is in relation to the production of the new production of SQM, and it has been awarded to Nanotech Chile in June of this year. Finally, or also, we have to mention the NAMI activities, as the minister and Javier Koopman were mentioning. NAMI activities in lithium had been developing since the year 2018, when its board of directors made a decision to enter into this lithium market. And what has been done by NAMI can be summarized in these 3 steps. In the year 2018, they signed a memorandum of understanding with a junior Canadian company, Wealth Minerals, so to try to develop some properties that were optioned by Wealth Minerals to private owners in the Salar de Atacama. This memorandum of understanding has not prevailed until today. In this year, in the year 2020, NAMI has announced that they have entered into an agreement with a US-based company, Lilac Solution, to test a new technology for producing lithium out of the salar brines, and this has to be still tested, and we have to see in the future what can be done with that. And finally, in September of this year, NAMI has called for a tender for studying the hydrology of the salars of Infieles and Aguilar. And that is what has been done until today. NAMI has to see what it will, which associations they will be contacting for taking advantage of the production of lithium in these salares that they do own, Aguilar and Infieles. In the next slides, I will refer to the authorizations or approvals that had been granted by the Chilean Energy Commission, SECHEN, until today. They are basically there are basically 6 that are in place. In first place, you have the original approval or authorizations granted to Sociedad Chilena del Litio, today to Rockwood Lithium. And this includes the right to exploit mining properties, which include lithium as part of their objective. Therefore, there are concessions with lithium part of their purpose. The new quota that was granted in the year 2016 is of a total of 540,000 metallic lithium equivalent, with the condition that I expressed before, that they have to have in place on or before December 31st, a plant for producing battery-grade lithium. In the case, the second approval is the one granted to SQM Salar, also in the Salar de Atacama, for a total of 350,000 roughly, that has a lifetime until the symbolic authorization in the Maricunga Salar for exploiting lithium also in concessions that do have lithium as part of the object, for a total of 24,300 tons of lithium metallic equivalent. And the time frame of that authorization is very vague. It's of 15 years since the first sale of lithium salts. And that doesn't have a term to happen. Then you have another authorization to Cominor. Today, Cominor and Symbolic are together in Simco for a total of 30,000 tons in the same site for very similar properties for a term of 15 years, similar to the one granted to Symbolic. The authorization in this case is to produce and sell lithium. Then we have the Codelco, the Salar de Maricunga authorization that was that is for a quota of 3,250 tons of lithium metallic equivalent, and the quota will be in place until December 31st, 2057. The last two ones are for Minera Salar Blanco, also in the Salar de Maricunga, for exploiting only lithium from concessions granted before the year 1979, for a total of 88,885 tons equivalent of tons of lithium metallic equivalent. It is said in the approval that because of the efficiency rate informed by Minera Salar Blanco of those 88,000 tons, they will only be produced 35,000 tons unless new studies are conducted for expanding the exploitation capacity. And finally, the latest approval granted by SECHEN was a recent one granted to Codelco for the Salar de Pedernales for a total of 40,000 tons of lithium metallic equivalent that will last until December 31 of the year 2060. It has to be mentioned that in all the latest approvals or authorizations of the Chilean Energy Committee, it has been, the Chilean Nuclear Energy Committee, it has been stated that the contractor will have to provide a lot of information about the behavior of the aquifer to the SECHEN. And that is pretty cloudy because SECHEN is not the authority that has a say in the environmental decisions. It's a different authority. So this is something that has to be looked in a future perspective to what happens. What we expect to happen in the near future? You have listened to a Minister of Mines that since the beginning of the government of President Piñera in the second term, we had been waiting for the announcement, for the launch of the new national lithium policy. Until today, the newest thing that we have heard was what Mr. Koopman developed or told us, that the government is preparing a new lithium international bid or tender that probably will be called within the year 2021. Maybe it's similar to what happened in the year 2012. The Ministry of Mines has been conducting a serious effort for putting together a mining policy for Chile for the year 2015. And within that policy, one of the main purposes is to promote the development of new exploitations of minerals other than copper, such as lithium, cobalt, rare earth, or similar. So we can expect to see more activity in the lithium invitations that the Chilean government will make for the entrance of new players in the future. And finally, regarding the lithium market, the Minister of Mines has indicated that ENAMI and Codelco have been taking actions that you have already listened, and I will not repeat. In our personal opinion, we believe that instead of calling for international tenders, it would be much better to put together a policy setting up the main obligations and rights that any private party that is interested to enter into a lithium market in Chile will have to comply with and will have granted rights to develop. And the way of granting those rights and imposing those obligations, in our view, are granting these special operation contracts or COLs. And you can have in those contracts obligations or royalties similar to the ones that are already in place in the contracts of Albemarle and the new contracts of Albemarle and SQM, and also obligations for contributing for research and development and similar to those. We expect that to happen, but instead of that, we granted notice that we are going to see an international tender within the next succeeding month. Well, that is all that I have to say in this difficult and very complicated lithium legal framework that we have in Chile today, mainly due to this difference that was made in the year 1979, and that has remained since that day as a complete and difficult cornerstone that is very difficult to overpass. Thank you very much for your time and your patience. Thanks.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Mr. Kincio. 네, 지금 발표를 통해서 칠레 리튬 정책과 또 리튬 시장의 정말 필수적인 리튬 생산 특별계약 세울의 구체적인 내용을 이해할 수 있었던 그런 발표가 아닌가 싶습니다. 다시 한번 발표 잘 들었습니다. We believe it helped the attendees understand the complex current lithium policies and the details of the sale.